I thought I'd do a little instructional video on how to forge something as simple as a snake with a very simple form. I say that because the shape of the forging is, you start with a piece of square, you taper it, leaving it square, taper it long for the tail, long taper, a short little fullering, very localized fullering, which isolates the head, and you're going to do a little bit of a taper right there, and then you're going to do a taper on the point. And then after you've done all this tapering and fullering on the square, the only thing left to do, if you look at this cross section of this, is just round off the opposite sides, which you'll end up with the edge, really nice cool little sharp edge for the edge of the snake, and a rounded back and rounded bottom, likewise for the head. So let's just see, and for what it's worth, this is sterling silver, this is stainless steel. Cool little shapes. So the first thing you want to do is start with a taper. What I didn't discuss, but it's probably apparent by now, is I'm using aluminum because I can cold forge it, and I use it to demonstrate forging processes because you don't have to have the heat. Now this is because it's been forged, this is almost too hot to touch, but it's not heated up to the annealing stage. But just goes to show how far you can push aluminum, some alloys, 6063 in particular, really far forging them. So that's like the start of the taper. The tail, probably adequate. I could do more, make it look more graceful, but just for the demonstration, I was going to be quick about it. So let's just say that's the tail. So now what are you going to do on this end? Now I cut this off, so that might turn into a funny little cold shut kind of a thing on his head, so I'm just going to file that off. Another reason I like aluminum. Files real easy. This is just like what I would be doing if I was hot rasping metal. Except it would be hot. Again, another opportunity to use aluminum to show process that you would normally use on hot metal. Okay, so I've kind of cleaned up the end of that. Now all I'm going to do is make a really short taper for his head, very abrupt one, which I will then fuller right behind to isolate the head from the body. Whoops. Could be a teachable moment. Golly, it looks a little long. I don't know that I want it that long. Another reason I use aluminum, I can show hot cutting. Or what it would look like if it was hot cut. But again, there's no heat in this equation. Students, beginners specifically, don't have to worry about burning themselves. Hello. Okay. Kind of a little tiny short point for the head. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is find the radius part of the edge of my angle, and I'm going to fuller down These are half on, half off blows with the hammer in relation to the edge of the anvil. The part of the hammer that's half off is what drives the mass down, creating the shoulder. So now I usually like to do it 90 degrees from each other, so I will. Now that fuller isolates the mass that becomes the head and also starts the transition from the head, which is usually small at the neck, into the body. So I'm just going to transition from fullering with the half on, half off blows to all on blows, which turns immediately. I mean, this blow is half on, half off. It creates a fuller. This blow, by being all on the anvil, starts to taper. It really doesn't start it. The fuller kind of starts it. You're literally just continuing it or making it more graceful. So you can see now I got a taper to the tail. I got a taper from towards the head, and this becomes the body. So now, if you want your head to stick up kind of proud, leave the lump up. Now, what I did right there is I'm using the side of the anvil as I hit on the underside of his head to slowly start rounding the top of his head. So let's just see. If I slowly start rounding off the top of the head and the bottom at the same time, because I get it free from the anvil, there's your basic shape of your head. Put eyes in it if you want, whatever. See? Now, it's real simple just to now hold this edge over this edge. Make sure you're not cocked one way or the other. And you're just going to come, because it's hard to hit right there, the first thing I'm going to do is turn it over, and maybe I'll just start on the back. Come right down the center. See how that created a facet or a side? Now it looks like it went from 2 to 3 sides. Likewise, the other side goes from 2 to 3 sides. Now all I want to do is work right down this spine, so to say. And you can see how I've gone from square to started to create the rounder side. Now to go rounder, all I have to do is now hit that edge and then hit that edge. And as I roll it to hit this edge, I make sure that the bottom one is right underneath it. Enables it to just round. So as I hit down this one, roll it a little bit, hit down this one, just come back and forth. You can see just how quickly it goes from 4 sides to 6 sides to round. Don't worry about that little. This is one of the downsides to trying to forge cold aluminum cold. If you're very aggressive, there'd be very little flaking like that. But the beautiful thing about that, I just filed it off and it's already done. So now, I'm just coming right down this side of this other little facet that I made. I'm knocking that high edge down, and I'm gonna come down and knock that high edge down. Straighten it out, I come back over here, no problem, straightening it out. Okay, turn it back around. Now I'm just going to forge down this ridge and then forge down this ridge, and it goes from 4 to 6. It's going to add 2 more sides on both sides, 8, 10 sides. So it starts getting rounder every time you knock down an edge. See, that kind of rounded that. Now I'm going to come down and I'm going to hit this one. See how round it's getting? You all heard the square, octagonal, round. It's just one of the basics. How you go from the basic shape of square and go to round. Take it in steps. you go. All I can do is just round up a little bit up there by the head. And there you go. There's your basic snake shape. You can round it off as much as you want until you're happy with it. Then all you need is some localized heats or big long heats to get nice smooth bends if you were doing this hot and steel. Rather than show you how I bend this with the aluminum cold, I'll just kind of leave it at that because it's really more about the basic shape forging this. And again, it's an excellent beginner project.